Today we're going to be talking about the Personal MBA Part 2 by Josh Kaufman. Here's a look at the cover of the book. In this video, you will learn how to iterate your way to success, what role advertising plays in your business, how to value your product, selling your product based on its value, how to harness your willpower, and more. 6 steps of iteration. Watch. What's happening? What's working and what's not? Ideate. How could you improve? Any options? Guess. Based on what you've learned so far, which of your ideas do you think will make the biggest impact? 4. Which? Decide which change to make. 5. Act. Actually make the change. 6. Measure. What happened? Was the change positive or negative? Should you keep the change or pivot? Iteration. Define what you're trying to accomplish with each iteration. No business plan survives the first contact with customers. Steve Blank quotes. Getting useful feedback from your potential customers is the core of the iteration cycle. Ask open-ended questions. Iterate your way to success. If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. Pick 3 key features. Get those things very, very right, and then forget about everything else. By focusing on only a few core features in the first version, you're forced to find the true essence and value of the product. Incremental augmentation is the process of using the iteration cycle to add new benefits to an existing offer. The process is simple. Keep making and testing additions to the core offer. Continue doing what works and stop doing what doesn't. Advertising and your product. Advertising is the tax you pay for being unremarkable. People don't buy quarter-inch drills, they buy quarter-inch holes. By this, you focus on the benefits, not the features. The product that will not sell without advertising will not sell profitably with advertising. Telling a story about people who have already walked the path your prospects are considering is a powerful way to get them interested in proceeding. Testimonials, case studies, and other stories are extremely effective in encouraging your prospects to accept your call to adventure. If you want an audience, start a fight, according to the Irish proverb. Controversy provokes a discussion. Discussion is attention, and make sure that controversy has a purpose. Valuing your product. If you expect people to pay you perfectly good money to buy what you're offering, you must be able to provide a reason why the offered price is worth paying for. There are 4 ways to support a price on something of value: replacement cost, market comparison, discounted cash flow or net present value, and value comparison. These 4 pricing methods will help you estimate just how much something is potentially worth to your customers. Imagine that you provide an ongoing service to a Fortune 50 corporation that increases their annual revenues by $100 million. Is your service worth $10 million a year? Sure. After all, what company would give up $90 million in ongoing revenue? Does it matter if providing this valuable service doesn't cost you much money? Absolutely not. Even if it only costs you $100 a year to provide the service, you're providing a huge amount of value which supports the comparatively high price. Does it matter if most B2B services cost $10,000 or less? Absolutely not. You're providing much more value than other services in the market, which completely justifies a higher price. Value-based selling. The process of understanding and reinforcing the reasons why your offer is valuable to the purchaser. Value-based selling is not about talking, it's about listening. In the classic book, Spin Selling, Neil Raycom describes the 4 phases of successful selling: understanding the situation, defining the problem, clarifying the short-term and long-term implications of that problem, and last, quantifying the need payoff, or the financial and emotional benefits the customer would experience after the resolution of the problem. Negotiation. In every negotiation, there are 3 universal currencies: resources, time, and flexibility. Any one of these currencies can be traded for more or less of the others. Reciprocation makes it much more likely that the buyer will pay back the favor with a much larger concession. The more legitimate value you can provide to others up front, the more receptive they'll be when it's time for your pitch. Value stream. Set of all steps and all processes from the start of your value creation process all the way through the delivery of the end result to your customer. The best way to understand your value stream is to diagram it. Tracing the steps or transformations your offer goes through from the beginning to the end is an extremely enlightening process. Make your value stream as small and efficient as possible. Finance. The art and science of watching the money flow into and out of a business, then deciding how to allocate and determine whether or not what you're doing is producing the results you want. It's really not any more complicated than that. Yes, there can be fancy models and jargon, but ultimately, you're simply using numbers to decide whether or not your business is operating the way you intended or whether or not the results are enough. 4 ways to increase your business's revenue. 1. Increase the number of customers you serve. 2. Increase the average size of each transaction by selling more. 3. Increase the frequency of transaction per customer. 4. Raise your prices. All truth is found in the cash account. Few words of wisdom. One of the best things you can do to get more done is to disassociate yourself from the voice in your head. Meditation is a simple practice that can help you separate you from the voice in your head. There's nothing mystical or magical about meditation. You simply breathe and watch what your monkey mind does without associating yourself with it. After a while, the voice becomes quieter, improving your ability to keep yourself on the course you choose. Action comes about if, and only if, we find a discrepancy between what we are experiencing and what we want to experience. Your reference level. Good books, magazines, blogs, documentaries, and even competitors are valuable if they violate your expectations about what's possible. When you discover what other people are actually doing, something you previously considered unrealistic or impossible, it changes your reference levels in a very useful way. All you need to know is that something you want is possible, and you'll find a way to get it. Willpower. Willpower can be thought of as an instinctual override. It's a way to interrupt automatic processing in order to do something else. Your ability to successfully use willpower for self-control tasks is dependent on a physiological fuel, blood glucose. Acts of willpower deplete relatively large amounts of glucose, and when those stores run low, we have a hard time using willpower to inhibit behavior. The best way to use your limited reserves of willpower is to use guiding structure to change the structure of your environment instead of your behavior. Monoidealism. To think is easy. To act is difficult. To act as one thinks is most difficult. According to Giotti. P.J. Ebby, a former computer programmer who specializes in helping people use their minds more productively, defines monoidealism this way: the state in which you have exactly one thought on your mind, with no conflicts. It's a condition that results in one naturally taking action in relation to that thought. It'll take 10 to 30 minutes before your mind becomes absorbed in what you're doing. Phone calls, coworkers, and other unanticipated demands on your attention will break your monoideal state. So priority number 1 is ensuring that you don't get distracted. That's it for the second part of Personal MBA. Click on the link below to get the book from Amazon. Share this info with someone who needs it on Facebook. Tweet at MainTakeAway and tell us what you learned or how you're going to use this information to implement it on your life or business. Or share a comment below on what you liked or disliked about the video. Coming up in part 3, we'll talk about the 8 problems when you have bureaucratic override and the 6 best ways to manage a company in the real world today.